Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink and Chuck Rowe, a podcast presented by News Talk 1540 KXEL. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink, Chuck Rowe, the show where we talk about mostly one thing and one thing only, and that is
Panther basketball.
Now, it's important that we remind you that although we are the official UNI basketball show for News Talk 1540 KXEL, our comments may not reflect the feelings of our friends at UNI. However, Randy is a former player, and I have a Wes Watchman autograph, so this show is going to be as official as it's going to get. Now, we also want to let you know that portions of the show can be heard at KXEL with the entire show found on their website. And as always, Randy, we have a great show for everyone this week.
Yes, we do.
Former point guard Brent Carmichael. After that, we have our Midwest Studies Group nonprofit of the week. And then finishing off the financial architect's quote of the week. Let's get started. Randy, we are honored to have joining us today, former point guard, drum roll please, Mr. Brent Carmichael. Thanks for joining us, Brent.
Hey, guys. Hey, always a pleasure to be with you guys.
Now, for years, you lived in Texas, and now you're coming back to the Iowa area. How do you enjoy living in this frozen tundra again?
Well, being from the Midwest and growing up in the Quad Cities area in East Moline, Illinois, I already kind of knew what the weather was like. But after being in Texas for 9 years and being in that warm climate, t-shirt weather most of the year, it was very difficult to get back into having to clean snow off your car and those kind of things. But, you're in Iowa, you're in the Midwest, and you got to learn how to adjust.
And you figured out that snow shovel still fit your hand.
Yes, and 2 pair of gloves works too.
That's awesome.
Well, I know before Randy came, I think Ray was on the team before Randy, I believe. And, he was a good scorer himself. And then, again, Jay Block, but then you have Randy who averaged like 95 shots per game, or something like that. So,
yeah.
So being a point guard, that was a natural point guard. How hard is it though, when you have so many great offensive players, how hard is it to make everybody happy during a game?
Well, I tell my point guards, you're going to be the most liked and the most hated. I mean, people love you when you get them the ball, and people get mad at you when you don't. So you just have to be able to accept that. One thing I always like to do is if the big man did rebound for you and get that outlet pass, I'd like to pay him back. I like to get them on the block and try to give them the ball to show them, that my appreciation for them being in there in the trenches, getting all those rebounds and outletting the ball. So I think it's an easy fix for a good point guard who wants to share the ball. But again, you got to try and keep everybody happy. And so that's the thing that a lot of point guards struggle with, because they want to be scorers opposed to, getting the ball where it needs to go, putting our players in the best possible situation for them to score. And so I'm a fan of big men. I'm a fan of putting somebody on the block and getting them the ball. So it was an easy fix for me.
So maybe one of you or both, you could tell us the best Chicken Jackson story ever, because he was the characters among characters in UNI history.
If you want to go, Rand,
Wow. So I think Brent was gone because this is my sophomore year. We would have 6 a.m. practices, seemed like 4 a.m., but I think it was 6 a.m. practices in the West Gym. And Chicken never showed up like 10 minutes early, but he always showed up on time. And so one morning he forgot his combination to his lock, and he is scrambling. We're all out there and he's running back and forth. So finally he grabs my brother Dave. He goes, "Hey, I forgot my combination to my lock." And we don't share combinations, so he didn't know it. So I believe he went and got a bolt cutter from the trainer and he cut Dwayne's lock off of his locker so he could get in. Anyway, I'll never forget that story. He was just scrambling around trying to make it to practice, and then finally had to get a bolt cutter to get him in because he could not remember his combination.
My memories are kind of twofold. One, of course, being his roommate and and him being the social butterfly that he was. But second, during many of our practices, Chicken was he was our hype man. If we were having a down practice, or if somebody needed to talk mess to each other to get people going, that was Chicken Jackson. Chicken he was gonna say something to somebody to get you fired up, or he would do something like try to dunk on you or something to get us fired up. So I'd probably say during the practices or during the season, he was our hype man. He was the one that kept us going. But socially, I tell you, I again, you'd probably have we'd have to stay on here for a couple hours for me to tell you some of the stuff socially that I went through. So
So you worked your way over to Waterloo
Mhm.
from Iowa Falls, correct? Is
Uh-huh.
where you kind of made your way back to Iowa.
Uh-huh.
And I would say that you're probably in the rebuilding mode at East
Mhm.
High. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah. And so talk to me about maybe like the youth programs. And this is your first season, correct?
Well, this is my second.
Second, yeah,
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah, that's right. You were here last year.
Uh-huh.
So are you going down into the youth programs and kind of starting that so you get like a stepping stone coming into the high school?
hmm Well, what I'm trying to do actually is, and one of the hard parts that I faced as soon as I came in, is that there's so many former players that are trying to do their own thing here, and so they have 4, 5, 6 youth programs, and then you got the Salvation Army doing, and so it's been hard to try to get all of them to understand that we need to do something universal. So what I've started doing is doing some Saturday drills and skills sessions for boys and girls, to where I can get a number of 3rd through 8th graders coming in just working on nothing but basics. The goal again is to start that and keep it going so that the coaches start coming along on Saturdays in order to know what we're doing, because that's the only way you're going to build a program. And so that's my fight right now, is trying to get all of these the alumni guys who have their own programs to jump on board and know that that's how you're going to get these guys to Wells Fargo down the road.
Well, when you came to East High, I mean, you obviously had success in other areas. And Tim Moses maybe went to school the same time as you guys. I'm not quite sure, but I think it was. What did he have to do to talk you into coming to East High?
Call me. Again, Timmy, UNI proud, had the same mentality that I had when he played football at UNI. Is a kid-friendly athletic director who wants the best for every kid. When you have people with like minds that are in leadership positions, you want to be there to help them. And so all he had to do, and it's funny how this all happened, but once we did make that connection, I told him, whatever I need to do to help get that program going and get it off the ground, I'm going to try and do what I can. And so he's one guy, again, a Panther for life, and so he and I have that in common.
Well, what's the big adjustment that you had to make because when you and Randy played at UNI, there was no 3-point line going on, and now everyone's just 3-point happy. How has that changed the way that you've had to coach?
Well, that's not, the 3-point line is not. I didn't have to do a lot of changing as far as coaching. My issue is the mentality with some of the players, the things that they have to deal with, the phones, the social media, the highlights that they don't. I mean, a lot of our guys don't even watch basketball. They just, all they do is the highlights. They watch. They'll look on Twitter and see a highlight and don't understand the process that it takes. And so that's the hard part for me, is that it's a process. You can't just highlight your way into Wells Fargo Arena. You just can't do it. And so that's the adjustment for me that has been very difficult, because as a avid basketball nut who watches it, who dreams it, sleeps it, still when I'm in the gym and I see a basketball, I don't want nobody to have it. I want to get it, and so that's the hard part for me because, trying to get the kids to understand that you got to value that basketball. You got to, love that basketball. You got to keep your eye on that basketball. And so that's the hard thing for me. It's not really the logistics and, the plays and all of that. I can deal with that, but the mentality is the hard part for me.
Right. Every time the athlete goes out there, they're trying to make the ESPN top 10.
Yeah.
Chuck and I want to do it. This is our stepping stone to be the podcast for ESPN. So, but I'm going to bash them right now. In my opinion, they've ruined the game in a way, because like you said, all they show is a highlight reel of somebody doing something. They don't show the pass which led up to it or the rebound. Right. I mean, basketball is it's a cool event to watch, but you have to not just watch the ball. You have to watch what's happening off the ball and everything. So, yeah, basketball is fun.
And it's a process. You're not going. I mean, I had guys that didn't even know what a stride stop was.
Right.
I mean, and these are guys that have been playing since third grade.
You're right. Yeah.
So how do you have to go back over and reteach, things that they should have learned in third grade, fourth grade.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part that I'm dealing with right now. So that's why we're doing the drills and skills for the younger groups on Saturdays. So
where do you do that, Brent?
At East. We haven't done our one this year yet. So we're going to start it, I think, the end of this month.
Okay.
And then we're going to go on Saturdays through February and March. Yeah.
So have any of your East High players said to you, Coach, let's just play a little one-on-one. I want to take you on. Have you ever done that yet, or do you stay clear of doing that?
The unfortunate thing, and when I was at Ellsworth, I still played a little bit with the guys from the college. But in 19, I got the kidney transplant. And so I was down for probably a year and a half. And so I lost, any kind of strength that I could use. And so I can't. And it's hard for me because I want to get out there and show them, even if it's just half court, to be able to make some passes or to get people open. But I haven't been able to do that with them. And of course, so I do some shooting with them. That kind of stuff. But again, Randy never taught me how to shoot. So I can't really always beat them shooting. So I have to resort to half court shots sometimes. And so that's how I beat them, is shooting half court shots. But yes, they talk mess all the time and I talk back with them. But I continuously tell them that you wouldn't have scored on me. You just wouldn't have. I would have locked you up so bad because. And the thing they don't understand either is that if you don't have the ball, you're not going to score.
Right.
So I'm going to just press you so hard that you're going to be tired by the time you get the ball. And then you're not going to have that ability to either get by me or shoot the ball. So those are things that they don't understand about the defensive process.
Well, I'm sure they probably have a lot of respect for the fact that you did have so many steals in your career and that you were such a great defender. It's probably awesome for these kids that even though you're having to retrain them, it's probably awesome for them to learn from such a great legend from the Panthers locally. So that's great that you're doing this.
Yeah, they're accepting it. I mean, it's taken them a while to trust that I know what I'm talking about, but we're getting there inch by inch. And so, again, the good thing that I got 9 juniors right now. And so, and those are guys that are getting most of my minutes. And right. So, we take our lumps now and come back into the year, play well at the end of the year, hopefully knock some people off, maybe get a ball to bounce our way here or there at the end, and then come back next year very strong. So it's a process.
Well, are there any final words to Panther fans before we let you go?
Best fans in the country. I am, purple and gold through and through. Love the Panthers. Follow them. Coach Jake and I talk every now and then. Actually, AJ actually worked with a couple of my players during the fall. They were going every Thursday and working with AJ. They love that. And that's what Panther Nation is all about. helping each other. And so I'm gonna always be a Panther, always, and love UNI and love UNI sports. So yes, go Panthers.
Well, Brent, it was great. It was great to reconnect with you. And now that you're this close, we need to do lunch sometime or sit down and talk. And we'll make it over to an East High game. I'll check the schedule out. We'll make it over to a game.
Please do.
Okay? All right.
We'll get that lunch. Chuck, thank you, sir.
As everyone knows, Randy and I have a big heart for our community nonprofits, and it's time for the Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week. Today, we have Karin from House of Hope. Thanks for joining, Karin.
Thanks for having me.
So I apologize as Randy had to step out for a second. So it's just me and you. A lot of people don't know about House of Hope. What is it that House of Hope does in the community?
Yeah, so House of Hope is a support system. It's transitional housing for single moms with kids and for women that are aging out of the foster care system. So it provides housing, case management, support, everything that somebody needs in order to move from homelessness to complete self-sufficiency.
Now, for those people who do know about House of Hope, they often think of the buildings that you have that the women stay in. And on the one that's in downtown Waterloo, that's for the ones that age out of foster care, correct? And then
Yep. So our house on Walnut Street is our Pillars program, which is for young single women. So ones without children that have aged out of the foster care system, kind of just a point where women are transitioning into adulthood and getting all the pieces put in place so that they can be independent. And then our other one, which is on West 4th Street, that is our 15-plex. And that's for single moms that have children in their care.
So the point being is that what a lot of people don't know is that you actually do a lot of programs for women that are outside of those two buildings, though.
Yes. So at one point in time, our waiting list hit 125 families right here in the Cedar Valley. 125 single moms with children in their care that were struggling with homelessness, that were having trouble sustaining housing. And with only 20 apartments, we had to figure out another way of serving those families. So we started an outreach program and started with the women that didn't have so many barriers to overcome, and just helping them overcome those few barriers so that they could sustain housing outside of our building. So we've been doing that for just over 2 years now, and have seen a significant change, and our waiting list has decreased quite a bit with that program. But now we're at a point where we are really reaching women that apply to our program within a month or two of when they apply, so that we can either get them housed outside of here, or we can start working with them to overcome barriers while they're waiting for an apartment inside of here.
How could people learn more about your organization?
So we've got our website, which is houseofhopeccd.org. You can go on our Facebook page. We do like to post a lot of our going ons right there on our Facebook page. If you come to our building on West 4th, we have plenty of newsletters that we love to hand out and make sure everybody knows exactly what's going on, what the programs that we have. We have a lot of new programs constantly, just as new issues arrive. So that newsletter really kind of just keeps you up to date on all the new things that are happening. And you can always just call and talk to any one of us. So that's 319-232-3823. And we'd be happy to set up a meeting, give you a tour, whatever you're interested in.
Well, thanks for finding time to talk with us today, or just me, I guess. Randy, I'm sure that he feels very sorry that he can't be part of this, but thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
That leads us to the financial architect's quote of the week. Randy?
Well, first, Chuck, let me give a shout out to my son who, I don't know how old he turns today. I probably should have figured that out, but it's Tony's birthday today. So Tony, happy birthday, number one.
Happy birthday, Tony.
And number two, financial architect's quote of the week. Positive people also have negative thoughts. They just don't let those thoughts grow and destroy them. positive people also have negative thoughts, Chuck.
Yeah, it happens to everyone, right? So
Right.
great quote. Good for you, good for me, good for everybody. Now it's time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. Thanks for joining us. Catch you next week. Enter the closing music.